Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Fuse Show. Today I'm joined by Andrei Stoica. He's the CEO of Brunch, and he's been an entrepreneur or a freelancer for a while. He'll mix building things, marketing, design, development, and other skills every day. He's come to accept himself as a generalist and loves the pursuit of combining multiple skills. In addition to Brunch, he's also building Stoica.co as a digital marketing agency for B2B clients focused on helping create helpful content, web design, and inbound marketing for better lead generation. Thanks for joining us in the show.
Thanks for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit more about Brunch? What are you trying to achieve and why is it so important to you?
Brunch is a tool, and we started to build it because we had an agency and we did a lot of, I especially did a lot of freelancing over the last 10 years, and agency work and working with clients. And I also did some branding at some point and collaboration and design sprints and stuff like that. So I think it's like being face to face. It gives a lot of other signals that you don't get to have on an online collaboration tool. That's one thing. And another thing was that when you point with your finger at something, in Romania at least, it's rude to do that, and internationally, I guess. But then it's really practical, it's like you show exactly that thing that you point to, and it's like, I need this, I want to change this. And so the idea of like changing things in context, it just started to, I don't know, to build. And we were using another tool like similar to what Brunch is doing today, to give feedback on websites to our clients. And we liked it, but they were moving a bit slow, and we said like we can do it better. We did it like almost like them so far, and I know we can do it better, but it takes a lot of time, and it takes a bit more time probably. And we have a few feature extra, but we're still building it. So we built it primarily because we needed a tool like that, and then because we kind of saw a bigger picture to it, and we saw the idea that like other tools weren't giving the context and were building things in the context of a live website, and we kind of needed to do that because we felt it's a need there. So
and
I think that's like,
who'd you say your ideal customers are?
I guess like people like us, in like people that have an agency, they're experts, they're copywriters, giving feedback to clients, or consultants, wanting to point something and say like you should change this, and afterwards the client should, like, sometimes they want to comment on that, or they have somebody else in the team that want to comment. And they usually, so far, they did this over email, and like with long threads, print screens, and like comments in paint or whatever, drawings, and I think this kind of tool is a bit better than that. So people in agencies, I think usually your consultants.
And how are you finding these customers?
Direct contact so far.
Okay.
Or they came directly. They just like our first paying customer, for example, she just, I don't know, landed on the website and started to use the tool, and she's happy with it. And I don't know how that happened.
Well, that's a dream.
Yeah.
A million users like that.
Yeah, I dream of that as well. So, but it's not a good strategy on the other hand. So we're trying like to do. We're at the point where we kind of focused on the product a bit more, even if everybody says like don't like do an MVP really sketchy, and sketchy MVP wouldn't work for that. It's the whole experience. It has to be pretty smooth to work, and then the technology behind has to. It required some work to make it right, build it right. So we kind of had to work like for 1 year on it, and now we're starting to focus on actually like bringing it to market and getting more users. And we started to work on messaging, for example, a lot more, and like try to promote it in certain groups and see how people react and try different approaches. And because it's the team, I think we're a really good team, but then we don't have a lot of experience in building messaging for software as a service, and this kind of like call to actions in social media for products. We have to learn as well in the same time. So we're just doing that. And the idea is to get the first 100 paying customers in the next 2 months. I will see about that. Yeah.
How'd you go from a more creative background to build a software-based product like solution? Like what were some of the hoops you had to jump through to build Brunch to where it is today?
Um, my challenge usually with the agency, like with the previous businesses I had, and this one was um, to focus a bit more on the strategy side. I'm like I come from a like freelancing, small business work kind of environment, and I can do things fast with like small to no budget, you know. But that gets you to a point when you have to actually build and I'm doing that on the agency as well, and on the product. When you have to build something that should grow pretty fast, or on the long term, you kind of have to consider the strategy side. And when you start building things like teams more than like 3-5 people, you actually have to take yourself out of the operations and start doing strategy and start doing like processes and an actual vision for the project and stuff like that, and not just like we want to change the world or whatever. A really strategically informed vision, and all kind of stuff that nobody else would do beside you. So the challenge was to actually focus on the strategy side and not get attracted
Hmm.
into the operations, into the day to day. And it's still the same challenge, I think. And on the building side, I did projects for clients. I did projects. I did design, product design. I did like UX, UI. A lot of the things that I'm the challenges we have in the product as well, in the software as a service business. But so it wasn't something new. And I read the books, on every topic there are like 3-5 books that everybody recommends, and I read those before that this like
Can you tell me about your favorite book or favorite books?
I read one that I think it's really good, the culture code, and I
Okay.
think it's really important for everyone. A recent one that I reread is the mom test. It's really really good for customer interviews. The business of expertise was really good for the agency, like the business side of things. um I don't know, books like like those I read right now, and I think it's a really good one for project managers. Inspired. I just like have
That's on my to
it's
read
good.
list.
It's good. It's not hard to read. It's usually the American books are like business books are you read them in 2 days. Like
I
it's
know what you're
very easy
talking
to read.
about.
Yeah, and they have like 2 or 3 ideas they should summarize at the beginning in case you don't want to read the whole book. But it's a good book. It's a good one. I don't
I
know
was,
what else.
I was taking a look at your website and I noticed that your when you have your page for you're trying to hire people, the culture
Yeah,
of your company seems really robust. Is that a function of the culture code?
which is the Brunch website.
Oh, sorry. I think it was the stoica.digital. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
stoica.digital
yeah,
or stoica.co where you had a lot of cultural values as to how you run the company is that
yeah.
from the culture code?
Mm, it's because I worked with a few other, like I had a few businesses before, and I worked with a few other people, and I tried to get to 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 be employed in another company at some point, and I lasted for like 3 months, and I just quit because it wasn't for me.
Hmm.
uh and like I'm like a really, I'm a simple person. Like I lived at the countryside at when I was young, and until college, faculty. And it's for I at the beginning, I didn't consider myself like too smart or anything. It's like I try to keep things simple. And then I realized that I'm doing this also because it's a lot easier to communicate. It's one side. And then I also think that personal connections and like building small healthy communities, um it's really important, and it's healthy. And you cannot scratch that and not do that, for the monetary gain, or like you make more money so you don't build a community, you don't take care of people. That's that's never gonna happen for us. And I think we're just building on that. Like I'm really, because they give you like small communities, and healthy small communities give you sort of a mindset, and you build on that. It's a sort of a compound interest over time. Like if you build people and you help people, at some point they build and they contribute back to the community. And I think it's the only way that you can build sustainably a business or anything like a small community, like in a village. You cannot not help a neighbor or somebody you're in the same room with. And you cannot yeah. And you have to give people time off, you have to be flexible, you have to, and it also makes you, like, one of the things that we try to focus on, it's actually focusing on what we want to achieve and objectives, and not the way people do it, because we're all different, like culturally, or like we have different ways of doing things, and certain things work for me and other things work for a colleague. And if we focus on the method too much, you kind of cut from all the possibilities that can happen from there, and you take out some opportunities without even considering them in a way. But if you focus just on the objective, like we all of us want to achieve the same thing. We want to make more money, we want to be happier, we want to have a better life, so let's focus on that. Let's see if all the things, like somebody working from, I don't know, 4 hours a day, maybe in some days, because he doesn't feel like working more, and some other days he works like 12 hours. His choice. So we try to focus on the outcome, or like, I don't know, what we achieve. And even in the financial, like we have a financial model, and I share it with everybody in the team. Just for, like, if you want to discuss the salary of somebody, let's discuss it. It's like, why somebody, I would hide that. If somebody has, like, if I have a salary which is like too big, it's a problem. It's not something like, for me, it's I consider it a big idea, a good idea, but then somebody else in the team says like it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Or like, let's discuss until we find like the common ground in a way. And I think taking the time to discuss this kind of things, it's really healthy, and it builds trust. And on trust, you can build anything, I guess. So,
How big is your team currently?
In the agency, we're like 12 people, I think, like 9 full time. And in Brunch, we're 5 people right now. And we're kind of like switching a part of the 5 people. Are 3 of them are part of the agency, so we're kind of like taking them in.
Do you share an
product.
office, or are you working remotely?
We have an office. We have an office with the agency, and we have an office from a partner in the product, and we have a few other offices from some friends. I kind of like work from the countryside this month, and next month half of it I'll probably work in from the apartment in Bucharest. So it's not, we try to work well remotely and get together from time to time, like once a month or every 2 months or something at least. And I'm on the call like all day. I think my job today, I think it's just half of the day I'm talking to people.
How do you split your time between Brunch and your agency?
I try to have like half days,
Okay.
like half of the day to do something, half of the day to do something else, and try to figure out what's important. For the agency, I'm kind of transitioning to the product right now, and I know for the next like 2-3 months I'll have to be full focus on the product, and build a team there and get some like more people and more money and users and everything. But the agency has a team that works anyway. So when I wasn't there, and I built the team in a way that they can work well without me as well. So I don't have to be there, and I try to do some things, just help with specific things that it's a lot easier for me to do, and just take like 1 hour and just block it in the calendar, and then not do agency work anymore. but that's that usually. And I try not to focus on the agents too much, just be a lot more just on the strategy side and
Hmm.
build a product for the next few months. That's the plan, I think.
How did you build up this team over time?
um I don't know, I hired people and I fired some of them. Like some stick around. This is what happened. I think it's I learned over time to fire faster and to just like figure out who's not a good fit and doesn't is not focused on the right things. And then some just quit because they learned too much and they had to leave. And that usually happens with development because like they come and they learn and they do like websites, and in 2-3 years they learn to do like more complex things, and we don't do that. We don't do apps and stuff
Mhm.
right now, not that much anyway. So they just leave to a better place. But we stay friends, so that's good. And I just it took time, I guess, and I think it takes time to meet people. But what I it kind of feels obvious in a way is that once you get to like 20 people or 15 around there maybe, and I heard that from other people as well, and I feel I'm like it's easier right now with 12 people to hire somebody else, because
Mhm.
I don't have to do all the onboarding, and I don't have to, and we start to have some processes, and you know it, and we started to work, for example, with somebody with an agency that helps us to hire, so it's a lot easier. I don't have to do like social media sharing and finding and the interviews, and they do that, and we just talk to like 2 or 3 people and we pick one.
Are there certain key traits that you look for when you hire someone?
um yeah, I think like back to the countryside idea. My father and I learned something that's like I think it's really important for every person to be like socially valuable. It's like
Hmm.
you find something that doesn't work, you fix it, or you try to fix it. You don't like it. If you have the attitude that like I don't like this, and I just go there and fix it, and I like it's not my job, it's not, but I just make sure that it's better. I think that's really important because like we kind of need builders and people that you see something broken, you fix it. And in our job, at least like with the product or with the agency, and I would say that it's in most businesses, but this too I know. um, People, the really good performers, I think there are the people that they don't like broken things, and they tend to fix it, and they learn how to do that, and they take care of the whole process. But the idea of being proactive about it, I think it's really important.
I think every business would love to have more proactive staff. Do you have a secret sauce in finding them?
I think it's important to give them space. Some of the most proactive people are the weird ones. Sometimes they have their own process. So you kind of have to like make it really clear what's the objective and what's the common goal, and why, like where you build the trust and on what. And then just give them some space and ask them like do coaching more than managing or anything else. And but it takes time, I think. And so that's, and sometimes like at least like in Romania, I think in the US it's a lot easier, but in Eastern Europe, uh, it's really complicated for people to like culturally to be proactive,
Hmm.
because with the whole communist background and everything, and people tend to be like really good followers. um, but actually initiating something, it's a bit hard, and it's like they're not sure if they're doing the right thing. They're like, and it's a thing that it's called like distance from to power or something. It's a cultural coordinate. And people in Eastern Europe tend to refer to power to being like really far, somebody who's really like the boss, like when whatever he says he's right or whatever. So we kind of have to build. I think it takes more time to build on that and make people understand that whatever they say or whatever they do, they won't risk their job, or they won't have any like bad consequences. And at least what's the context, and what's the and we kind of, I just showed them the financials, and I say like this is who we are, like this is what we have in the bank as money. Like if you screw it up with a few clients and they leave, we will have a problem. Until then, do your best. And I think that builds, and being honest, I think, and um, open about it, about like anything, and transparent. I think that builds trust as well, and leads to people trusting you and taking risks and being proactive.
Have you always shared the financials of your business with your entire staff?
No, at the beginning, I was a bit
Okay.
like 10 years ago when I started entrepreneurship. I was, it was the thing. I was reading some books that were more on fake it till you make it, or you have to like appear strong, and so you kind of like people will fear you. I read the book like 43 or whatever laws of power, by some guy who was
Oh
like
yeah.
German.
By I know who you're talking about. Shoot.
Yeah, the red one.
Yeah.
And yeah, which is crazy. They're like, yeah, it was a nice book, but not, I don't agree with that guy anymore. It's obvious that you cannot be like that. Like you have to like. It's important to build your personal brand in a way, but it's more important today to, and I think it was always important to build personal connections and be honest and build trust than anything else. Because even if you don't know how to do something, you learn at some point. Like you have the confidence that, yeah, you learn, and you have the confidence that you're a decent human being. But you don't have to fake being a decent human being and actually not being one. It's like people will figure it out. So I think I just learned that over time.
I noticed that you started brunch during COVID. Was that intentional, or did that throw a wrench into your plan, or did it make things significantly easier for you?
No, like we didn't have problems like on the business side with COVID. We're doing, I think, a good job for our clients, and we're cheaper than any kind of. We usually we're based in Romania, but we work with clients in Belgium or US. So we're competitive on the price side. So if they were to hire somebody, it wasn't us. So we didn't have like lower volumes or anything like that. But I'm trying to build like products, and I work with a few clients on their products as a designer, or like doing design sprints and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like looking in that direction for some time. And I think it was just like good timing I started to build with the CTO, with Răzvan, the product, as like we were using the other one, and we said like, let's try to build this one. But we were talking for a few years, I think, about building something together. So it just happened then, I guess. And it kind of like it's interesting because like we start to build it, we lost interest somewhere around winter, because we figured out after like 6-8 months that we spent some money for the agency for development and other stuff, and we kind of like we didn't see any traction because we didn't actually promote it to anybody. And then we lost a bit the interest, and then Mihai, the other person, came and he said like, if you want to build this kind and grow this kind of product, you need some financing, you need some money to build on that. And he told us about like how you get like rounds, and we knew about like seed funding and stuff like that, but we never thought about it because I was more on like, I'm doing the bootstrap. I don't want to build with partners or whatever, like build it healthy bit by bit. It's still healthy with other people's money and like building faster. I don't want to like build faster and step over dead bodies or something like that, but just in a healthy way. So we kind of reactivated in, I think, February, March this year, when we start to have talks with them, and we realized that yeah, we can build it. It's a good timing with the market and like trends, I think. And yeah, so
What would you say is the core part of your being that motivates you to do all the things, including your agency, including brunch, in life?
a core part of what?
Like what is like innate to you that makes you want to do all of these things? Like, what's so important that you're willing to take the effort to proactively push to create these businesses?
Um, um, I don't know. I guess like my previous experiences just built me like who I am today. And one of the things is I I like my parents had a big focus on education. I mean, they were like simple family, above average, like below average in terms of like earnings and everything. But they focused a lot on
Hmm.
like us getting a good education. So when people like other like my peers were uh, playing outside, I was studying for math or stuff like that. So I was like, I learned to be like, I wanted, and I was just, since then I was just focused on, I want to get to build more, I want to do more, I want to be something, you know.
Hmm.
So I try to focus on building stuff, and on the other hand, I'm really like, uh, I like to help, and I like to help people in general, and I don't have enough time to do that properly. I started with right after faculty, I started working in an NGO and in faculty, and before that I was doing like um, not paid jobs in NGOs, you know, and I
Hmm.
like Red Cross and like gathering garbage in parks and stuff like that. So I want to contribute, and I want to help, and I want to build, and I kind of feed on the emotion of like how you feel on when somebody says thanks, and you
Hmm.
get to change their life, and they appreciate that. Or so I want to build stuff like that, and I realized, I think of like last year probably, or like in the last few years, that it's a lot more important for me to contribute and build stuff than actually to make more money. Where you know, you get to a point where you're comfortable socially, and then for me at least, it's really important to contribute and, you know, just help people. And I don't like it that some people don't have like a place to stay or stuff like that. So I feel like the only way I can do it, I have to be a bit more, you know, step by step, uh, more to perform better on the business side and build better stuff and figure out how to build it healthier and bigger and better to earn more and to build some systems that, you know, will help a lot more people at some point. So I'm kind of driven of like, I think it just fuels me, and it fuels me to it, instead of like I don't smoke, so I have to have some drug of some sort.
Hmm. How, what would you say is like some advice that you wish you knew 5 years ago? Like, or what advice would you give to a past version of yourself?
Ask for help.
Okay.
You know, like people they don't like, people are nice in general and they want to help, and it's as much for them when they help as it is for the people that they get to help, you know. They get a lot of the helping as well. So I think it's really important. Like it was hard for me to ask for help. It's still hard, but it's like it's not that hard anymore. So I'm sure that people like that did it before you, like whatever you want to do, there's somebody that did it before you know, or something similar, and they have a lot of, you know, they can help you with not losing a lot of years learning it by yourself, you know, where, and they would help you with resources, and they will be a good partner. And I think that's another one, just try to partner with somebody that's a lot more experienced than you, and they're open to it, like everybody, I think
Can
a
you,
lot of people are open to it.
can you tell me about a time where you asked for help and it went really, really well?
um I don't know. I start to talk with like an agency in the US, for example, like a bit of like a few months ago, and I just like uh, wrote a comment, and then we had a discussion. I just asked the guy for how they're doing their pitches, and how they're packaging the services on the inbound side, and the guy was just like, I can show you my whole presentation and everything, and like how we build it, how we sell it, and you know, and I was like, yeah, nice. I would do the same for other people, but the fact that that guy just like he just shared what he worked on for a few years, that was really nice, and I didn't expect it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And as you build these agencies, what are some things you've learned from different clients?
Well, I think it's like in general, if the intention is good, and you communicate what you're trying to achieve and how, even if you screw it up and the outcome is not great, people are okay with it. As long as you communicate. And I also learned that it's important to pick the right people that you work with, the right clients, because the ones that are not right, you'll just get into a conflict with them, and it will it's just not the right fit, and you won't be able to communicate. And yeah, and there are I also learned that there are a lot of potential customers out there, and they just don't know about you. They think you're the for me, for example, I was building websites at the beginning, and I'm also doing digital marketing and other stuff like strategy, and I know how to take a business from no leads to a good web presence. But people knew that I was doing websites, and because I didn't communicate in any way, that I just learned a lot more in the last 10 years. Yeah.
So how do you know if a specific client is not a good fit for your agency?
Well, I'm looking at the financials
Okay.
ones, so I kind of try to figure out so financial, I think, and then expectations. I try to figure out what they expect to happen, and to figure out if I can do it with my team or not, because we don't have a lot of experience on the strategy side. We're not 30 years of experience and on that specific niche, and we're the best. We don't know that. But on the implementation side, we're great. So if they kind of know their strategy, but they need implementation, that's perfect. And we have to look at the financials as well, because if we have a certain cost for the team, and they expect to pay less than that, it's not gonna work. So and so we know, for example, that we kind of have to look at companies that have 2-3 people in the marketing team, and that are making more than 2 million a year or something like that, because they have enough volume. They get to profit from what they're building with them. And I honestly don't think people if you're not at 100, 2 people in your marketing team, you don't need a big website. You don't need to optimize anything that much. It's obviously not that important for you, and you need a web brochure, and a simple Squarespace or something will work fine. You don't have to have something a lot more complicated than that. So it's kind of obvious that they're not setting their priorities straight if they don't have anybody on the marketing team, but they want to build a complex website with conversion flows and with everything. It's no, it's marketing is not important for you. So it's and we kind of realize that it's not a good fit like that if they have different expectations than what the reality is.
What do you think the percentages of people who come with mismatched expectations compared to what you perceive?
Well, it depends. If in general, if they're a marketing manager and they have a bit of experience, we're on the same page.
Okay.
It's easy. They just say we need this and this. And we say we know how to do this, and they're not that great on that side, but we can just get somebody else for that or whatever. But if they're a founder and they did only sales and they want to do social media or something, it's complicated, because sometimes you have to educate that person, and you mentioned inbound marketing and they don't know what you're talking about. It would be hard. It would be a hard trick. But so, and because we don't have such a big team or anything, we don't have the capacity to do the whole education and whatever, and propose different products, and we have to focus on specific things and be able, because we don't have big prices or anything, and we don't work with big budgets in general. We kind of have to just be able to do the onboarding of the clients pretty fast and start implementing the project and start working on an hourly basis or like on a project basis, but not spend that much time on educating and onboarding. So
as you have all these initiatives you're trying to grow within the company, how do you try to grow yourself as a leader to make sure you can stay on top of everything as well as also like pushing that new boundary for strategy? Like what are some traits you are trying to like build in yourself as a leader to become a better leader for your company?
I try to learn a bit more strategy, and like right now I'm and I try to connect with people that are a lot better than myself and have done it, like they have like 20-30 years of experience, and they're kind of sort of like sages in this area. So I try to connect with people, and I try to learn from books, and I also like I'm looking at some sort of like trainings and courses right now, but I'm sort of in between. Like I picked a few and I know I want to do like one or two, but I don't have the time to do it right now, so I kind of like I'll probably postpone it to early next year. So that's like usually I think connecting with other people, because they just send like you start telling your story and they click and they say like read this book or do this or just like take care of that, just don't do that, I did it, it doesn't work. And it's like really fast track learning with other people.
Where do you meet
And
these sages?
like a sage person, like a really smart.
Or where do you find them?
Where do I meet them? um I don't know, like I started to like what I did recently is apply in a accelerator. I was
Gotcha.
skeptical about it, and I was like, I don't think I can, like I don't have a lot of things to learn, and I didn't learn like a lot of new things, or like almost not so, I didn't learn much, but I learned a lot on like taking you, like it wasn't something new, but taking you through the process. It was like really, it was a great exercise. And then in this connecting with other people in this kind of context where you you just connect with other people in, it's a context built by them, and you just to be there and instantly, if you were just by yourself with your team in your office, you don't meet anybody new. But if you put yourself in this kind of context, then the, that group and that context connects you with other people,
Hmm.
like without you even trying that much. So I think accelerators in general, they're great. Hubs, I go to like Impact Hub in Bucharest, for example. It's co-working space, and you just get to know people. And if you start telling your story and say like I want to do this and I want to build this, then people will just come and say, hey,
Hmm.
I know this guy who you might want to talk to. And I think it's just putting yourself out there and just taking yourself out of your daily routine and putting yourself in other communities, and you just notice the people that you kind of click with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm trying to do that more, so it's not great on my, like I know the theory, it's I'm trying to do it more. So
the second to last question I'd like to ask you is, what advice would you like to give to founders or soon to be founders that are watching this episode?
um I think it's important to build it. I think it's important to read the books and to learn whatever it is to learn, and then do it how you feel like you should do it. There's no like right answer or anything. We're just like, everybody's just kind of winging it or like discovering it on the go, and it's something new every time. um and then I think it's really important to build it to your clients, like at least have one client at the beginning and build it for that person, because it builds it gives you a lot of like trust in a way, like it feels great to have somebody that uses your product and says like, yeah, I like it, let's do this new, and like if they get to pay for it as well, that's great. And but if you pick one, three, five the most, so three, I think it's great to be able to keep in contact with them and build it for them. Whatever product you build, I think it's way easier to do it like that. Even if you don't have the money, it's way easier on the long term to have somebody using it in the meantime until you make it, like you build a great product and you build the best one out there. Just having somebody using it, I think it's great.
And the last question I'd like to ask is, what is the best way for our viewers to get in touch with you and follow you in your journey?
On LinkedIn, I think. Just search me and follow me, connect with me, and I think LinkedIn will be the point where I'll start posting a lot more, hopefully. But if they have any questions and I can help with anything, just reach out. I'm happy to connect with anybody and try to help.
Sounds good. And we'll have that link to your LinkedIn profile on the landing page.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for your time today, Andrei. This has been great.
Same. Thank you. Thank you for that. It was nice.